Okay, I'm going to go ahead and get started. This session is brand approval. Okay, there is a handout that I gave you. It's a pretty long one. It's one of the longer ones for brand approval. It's also up on the screen. If you guys that are watching this streamed, if you want a copy of the brand approval handout, you just send a ticket to support and ask for brand approval. When you go to add a product to Amazon, which we recommend you do for every product that you purchase, you're going to see if you are able to sell that product or you're not able to sell that product. And all you have to do is put it in here, and let me try one to see if we can or not, because it goes and comes. Okay, so when you type in a brand, it may say listing limitations apply, and you click and see what those limitations are. Now this is just condition for us, but it may say request approval. So you want to do that across the board with every product that you sell. And this is important. You want to do it brand wide because there is a glitch in Amazon system where they may tell you that you can sell a certain ASIN in a brand, but if you check a couple of other ones from that same brand, you're restricted on that brand. So if you get that message, don't send in that product even if Amazon tells you that you can sell it, because people have gotten suspended doing that. It's a glitch in Amazon system. It's 100% their fault, but they will hit you for it. So if you are selling a brand and you're new to selling that brand, or you haven't added it to your cart before, I would put in the brand like I did here, and then just check a couple of these products to double check that none of them don't say you're restricted on the brand, because that is a glitch in the Amazon system, and we have had several people get suspended for it. So I just want to make that clear. No, so they went to sell something and Amazon said that they could sell it. But when they went and looked brand wide, they were restricted on that brand.
So certain products where they said for the to sell.
In that brand, yes. It's a glitch in Amazon system.
No, I'm not following. Like, so they are.
So okay, so for example, say I put in UGG, right? And it tells me I can sell this one, but it tells me I can't sell this one because I'm restricted on this one. I can't sell this one because I'm restricted on this one. Can't sell this one because I'm restricted on this one for the brand. Then I should not sell this one because I am restricted on UGG, and I'll get suspended if I send in that product, because I'm not ungated brand wide to sell that product. Does that make sense?
Okay, so you're saying that some products, some units, or something that will allow you.
They slipped through Amazon system.
Yeah.
So you want to make sure that you check brand wide and that you're not sending those products in, because you'll get suspended. It's a glitch in Amazon system. So if you are not checking brand wide, then you could possibly get suspended. Yep, correct.
If you look at that one's changed, like on collectible and use them.
It doesn't say that I'm restricted on the brand, so that's not a problem. And this one doesn't say that I'm restricted in the brand. I need to be approved to sell this product, and it won't let me list it. But you want to make sure that you're checking that for several different ASINs. Add the product to your cart, and then if it says listing limitations apply, see what those limitations are. They can be brand, they can be category, it can be ASIN or subcategory. You're going to click on request approval. There'll be an orange box or yellow, whichever you want to call this color, and it'll say request approval, and that will take you to the application section. There will be an either or choice. A lot of people see the options and they say I have to do both. That is not the case. It's either or. So it's going to either ask you for a letter from the manufacturer or to submit invoices. The letter from the manufacturer can be almost impossible to get, so it's best to go with the receipts. The criteria for those receipts, you have to have at least 10 of that item on a single receipt. So a lot of people, they'll go and buy 3 of the product here, 4 of the product there and try and do that total, that will not get you approved. It has to be at least 10 on one single receipt. No. So I'm going to get into that. So up at the top, I mentioned that it can be brand-wide, category, ASIN, or subcategory. So if it's a brand restriction, it can be 10 of any of that brand's item at all. So if I'm trying to get unrestricted in Nike, I can go and buy 10 of the cheapest Nike products I can find and send that in. Now, if it's a category, it has to be 10 from that category. If it's an ASIN, it has to be 10 of that exact ASIN. So it has to be 10 of that ASIN. So it says, if it says you are restricted on this ASIN on this Reebok size 10 blue shoe, you have to go out and buy 10 Reebok blue shoes to get unrestricted on that ASIN. If it's a subcategory, it has to be 10 products from that subcategory. Yeah, there are some. Yep. So it has to be at least 10 of those items on a single receipt. That's key. It has to be dated within 180 days of the date that you're submitting it. And it has to have your store name and their info, so their address, and your name and your info. There are 2 different methods that you can get this done. The rep that reviews your information is the deciding factor in this process. So there have been people that have had receipts with that have had success with retail receipts. There have been people that have had success with online receipts. It has varied. There's no this method works better than this one. At the moment, there isn't. It all depends on who you get that will go over that documentation for you. You can submit the same documentation 5 times and get denied, and then on the 6th time get approved. There's no science to it. It all depends on that one person that is reviewing the documentation. The key to this is to make sure that your receipts are in order and not get stressed out. So if you get, there have been people that have gotten denied one time and they just give up. That is not the way to do things with brand approvals. You have to submit, ask us questions. We'll give you some hints to make sure that you get this process approved. And you should submit your documents after 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. The reason that this is that's when the Seattle office closes. So they kind of outsource things to people overseas, and they don't check things as well as some of the other people do. So when I tell people to do this all the time, and they don't do it, and they underestimate this one tip that I'm giving them. So make sure that you do that. Yep, is after 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Yep.
So after 12, we should submit the receipt.
Yep.
So that it will get read by the US based.
Yeah. Yeah, because the office closes. Yeah. Yeah.
For brand approval?
Yep.
And they don't do a job properly.
No, they do. It's just they may not do as. No, they do. They do. They're just not as strict. So Amazon tells you what you need to do, and some U.S.-based representatives are like, no, we won't accept that. We won't accept that, even though they should accept it. But some of the other people, they will accept it and not stress about some of the other things. So. Yep. And that's for everything. Anytime that we tell you to submit something, I know I personally, and I know that Jay did as well, tell people to submit things after 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
But what about like feedback? I'm having that kind of feedback from teachers right over there.
They won't give you any feedback, but I always give pushback. Like they denied me like twice in a row.
So
Pushback, and I still
your feedback, I already told you what some of your issues were, like not having their seats, and then some other things that I didn't. Only for one of them, you said, not for all 4 of them that you sent in.
Yeah, because it's not authentic.
Doesn't matter.
It is more so like that it's just they're shipping back with them, customer return.
So you have to you have to know how to answer it back, and we send the receipts. So I know that I was working on that, and you said that you wanted Sam to take a look at it, so he's going to do that and get back to you about it. But that's what some of the issues were with that. And if you're not submitting it after 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, that may also be some of the issue. So there's definitely a right way and a wrong way to answer feedback of any kind. I've had people send me what they sent Amazon, and I'm like, that's confrontational. They are going to deny that right away. You shouldn't say this in here. They don't want to hear that. Don't do this. Don't do that. And then once I send them what they should send, gets approved right away. So that's part of the issue. So I know that you sent that in. That's a different topic for a different time. So we'll talk about that at a different time. Uh-huh. We just send the receipts. Mm-hmm. Nope. Nope. I'm gonna get into that. Okay, so let me get there, and then afterwards we'll answer some more questions. Okay, and the document that I'm going over in office with everyone is right here. If you want this document, you can definitely email support to get it. I do have a question in the Q&A, so let me answer that real quick. I'll come back to that, April. Make sure that you highlight, and this is important, the store name and address, your name and address, the last 4 digits of a credit card that is linked to your Amazon account, and the products you purchase and the quantity. Make sure the receipt is clear, easily readable, not blurry, and the proper orientation. I can't tell you how often I get receipts that do not meet proper receipt guidelines. So if your receipts are upside down or sideways, Amazon will reject it based on that. If your receipt is blurry or unreadable, Amazon will reject it just based on that. If they have to zoom into your receipt in order to be able to view it, they will reject it just on that. So you want to make sure that you have those items in place before you even start this. So if you don't have a good scanner, that's something that you need to invest in. If you're standing above receipts taking pictures of them, you need to invest in a scanner. If you're sitting across the room taking dark pictures of receipts, you need to invest in a scanner. And I'm mentioning this because I've seen them from clients. It's not something I'm making up. I see it quite often. So you want to make sure that your receipt is in order first before you do any of the other things. Okay, so the first method with the retail receipt, you go to that vendor store. It looks better if you go directly to that vendor store, such as a Nike outlet or a Reebok store or Adidas or things like that. But you can also try with an authorized distributor. But if you can go directly to the vendor store and get it from them, I recommend doing that. Yeah, I'm going to get to that. It depends with the rep that approves it. You're going to purchase your 10 items, but put some of the purchase on a credit card that is tied to your Amazon account. So a lot of people go to Do RA and they use gift cards. So if you're going to use gift cards, that's fine. Just put like a couple of dollars on a credit card that is linked to your Amazon account. Then you're going to highlight the items that were previously mentioned and provide your bank statement that has your name, address, and the last 4 of your credit card that you used. And you're going to highlight that as well. And the reason that you're going to do this is because Amazon asks for your name and your address as well. So if you tie back the last 4 of that credit card to the last 4 that's on the retail receipt, and you provide your name and your address, that's meeting both of those criteria. So if you're going to do a retail receipt, it's important that you do this step because a retail receipt will not have your address on it. Yes. No. So the question was, do you highlight the transaction? No. You don't even have to show the transaction on your bank statement. It's more to prove that that credit card that you paid with is in your name, that it is your credit card. And this is another important thing that I want to mention. If you signed up your Amazon account You want to make sure that the purchases that you are making match the name that is in your Amazon account. Now, back like a year ago, Amazon used to really crack down on this. They don't do it so much anymore. If the name on documentation that you provided didn't match your Amazon account, they would give you a really hard time about approving it. I know that we had a client and his Amazon account had his middle initial on it, but his invoices did not have a middle initial on it, and Amazon gave him a really hard time about accepting his documentation. Now, this isn't something that they're doing right now, but just as good practice, you want to make sure that whatever registered name you have on your Amazon account, that is also the name that you're using to make purchases. So once you have the receipt and your bank statement, you're going to submit both of those documents. The second method is online receipt or retail invoice. Go to that vendor's store website, same thing, looks better, but you can also try with an authorized distributor. You're going to purchase your 10 items same way you did before. Put some on a credit card that is tied to your Amazon account, same thing as before. Highlight the items that were previously mentioned. Now for OA, because your address and name will be on that invoice, you don't have to submit your bank documents, but if they give you a hard time, you can do that later on. But initially, you don't have to submit it. Another thing about online receipts, which I didn't put on here, is that if you're purchasing on the store, you want to make sure that you create an account and you make the purchase that way. And the reason is Amazon will not accept shipping confirmations or order confirmations as proof of purchase. So what you'll have to do is log on to the website, go to the order section and take a screenshot of that order and send that as your invoice. So highlight everything that is necessary on there and submit both of those documents. And some important things to remember, don't add anything to your Amazon inventory that you cannot sell. This is a perfect way to get your account suspended. So if Amazon tells you you can't sell something or something slips through and you send it into Amazon, it doesn't even have to get to Amazon. As soon as you put it on a shipment, they will suspend you. Doesn't even have to leave your facility. If you're prepping at your house or your prep company, doesn't even have to leave it. As soon as you put it on a shipment and approve that shipment, you'll be suspended. So just don't do that. Don't add additional info on the receipt. For example, your address. The only thing that you can add onto a receipt is the ASIN if necessary. Anything else counts as receipt manipulation, and that'll get your account suspended. Sometimes sending a receipt sending a request to close the application and then resubmitting it can help. So all you do is open up a case with Amazon, ask them to close out your application for such and such brand, wait until you see that it's closed, and then just open up a new one. And people have had success with that. And then another thing, Amazon does look at how long you've been selling on their platform and your sales volume and some other factors to determine your eligibility for brand approval on some of their more popular brands, but there have been people that have gotten approved on big brands out of the gate. So it's always worth a shot to try and do that. I've seen people who just got on Amazon get approved to sell Nike right out of the gate, and there have been people that have struggled. There have been people that have submitted 20 different times and then gotten approved. So there's really no rhyme or reason to it. You just have to be persistent, make sure that you have the right documentation. I know that people have email support saying, Melissa, can you take a look at my receipts and tell me if everything is in order? And I tell them absolutely not. This is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, this is what you need to do, and have them fix those items. And I have no problem doing that. Just send it over to support. I'll take a look at it. Send it to me as you're submitting it to Amazon. That way I can see exactly how you're doing things. Now to questions. So April said, we were able to list Sperry shoes last December when we sent it in. Amazon told us that we were restricted. Upon checking, we really weren't allowed to sell those products, but we already have the listing waiting in our inventory. What do you suggest we do? Thank you. Recall those items and then request approval. You don't want to keep them there if you're not allowed to sell them. That's just asking for trouble. So you definitely want to recall them and then try to get approved on them. Yes.
That situation where like a check sell it and go and sell it,
Mm-hmm.
for that product,
Mm-hmm.
they add an additional restriction on top, right?
So we don't recommend using Inventory Lab to create shipments. We recommend using Seller Central. So Seller Central or Seller Engine to create your shipments because you get things like that. So Amazon is going to have the most up-to-date information. So I don't know what the issue could have been that time. It might have been a subcategory or something else, or maybe just a glitch with Inventory Lab. But Seller Central is going to have the most, and then just make sure that you check that brand wide because that might have been the issue or something like that.
Because I got food to sell Lego,
Mm-hmm.
and then they added that learning.
Yep, that's a subcategory, learning toys. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Come on, I read their food.
Yep. The toys are problematic because it's the brand, and then sometimes there's category and subcategory like learning toys, remote control, operated toys. There's another one. So toys, those can be a little bit of a pain in the behind to deal with. Toys, baby products, those can be a little bit of a hassle. Yeah. So are there any other questions about brand approval? Yeah, so, okay, so there's two answers to that question. And the question was, can you just buy the cheapest items at the store to get approval? Yes, you can, but you still want to buy items that you can send into Amazon. Because you don't want to buy 10 items and then not be able to send them into Amazon and just waste your money. But yes, you can buy the cheapest things. It doesn't have to be the most, yeah. Yeah, like socks or headbands or something that's not like, you have to go out and buy like the most expensive shoe and send that in. Yeah. Yeah, stuck with them. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, yeah. So I actually tell people I recommend doing that. It doesn't have to be the most expensive thing. You just want to buy those 10 products.